dive into things here real quick. Let me share my screen. All right, for those of you that don't know who Boxlight is, I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview. Boxlight is an education technology company. I am the STEM director at Boxlight. I have some of our team members on here as well. But Boxlight carries a lot of classroom solutions. We are a manufacturer for multiple different solutions. STEM is one of them. We have interactive flat panels. We have professional development and software, and we have classroom audio as well. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to reach out to us at boxlight.com or reach out to me directly after this. I'll give you my information. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into it. Today, we're going to be talking about using AI to design 3D models. It could be for 3D printers, or you could design 3D models for animation. So either or is perfectly fine with me. Okay, before we do that, I just want to jump into some AI and 3D printing future use cases. Okay, this isn't necessarily a current use case, but a future use case. Okay, so here's a couple of them ways that we can use AI for 3D printing and actual hardware. One of them is model analyzer, right? So use AI to make sure that the model is built properly and ready to print. I know this is something that a lot of people that are teaching 3D design or doing 3D design or 3D modeling have an issue with when they actually want to go to print it. Maybe the model is, messed up in some ways. Maybe it can be designed a little bit better, or maybe it needs to be oriented a little bit better. So I think AI is going to really help once it's embedded into these what are called slicing softwares to allow you to optimize the model here. Okay. Second one is cost optimization. So using AI to more accurately predict how to speed up the print, how much material, things like that, right? Another thing we talked about is like you can individually control how solid the object is and things like that. But in the future, we're looking to see AI being utilized to really optimize the model for cost and functionality. Okay. A third one is predictive maintenance, right? So this is a pretty simple one, but keeping your 3D printer up to tip-top shape. If the actual hardware is experiencing wear and tear on things, the AI can actually predict that and then promote suggestions to you as a 3D printer owner, right? To help make that better. So these are just three kind of typical AI and 3D printing use cases that I see kind of happening in the world shortly. Okay. So some of these are hardware related, some of them are in software related, but just wanted to mention those. And now we're going to jump into AI and 3D design, which is really the point of all this, right? This 20-minute session that we have here. So we're going to talk about building 3D models for use in 3D printing. And this is a little bit more of a manual approach. This first example, I'm going to give you two examples. One is going to be a little bit more manual, and then we're going to give you an example of an actual and showcase a software that you all can utilize that is, I would say, a little bit easier, a little bit more like prompt focused, and will kind of do all the work for you. Okay. So this specific manual way to get 3D models from using AI, we're going to use Blender, like I had mentioned. So if you don't know Blender or haven't used it, you can download it, or once again, just follow along. And we're going to use ChatGPT. Okay. I'm sure everyone here knows about ChatGPT by now, and I've probably used it on a multitude of occasions. And why are we doing these two? Well, first and foremost, they're both free, so you can use their free functionality to actually do 3D design with AI. And number two is they're, the most commonly used software is really one for 3D modeling and one for using AI to get different types of prompts. Okay, so I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So let me stop sharing this screen right here. I'm going to share my full screen just so you can get a picture of what everything is. All right, so we're going to share my full screen here. Okay, I'm briefly just going to quickly show you what Blender is. Okay, so this is typically what Blender looks like. Most people that use 3D design or 3D modeling softwares are a bit intimidated by these platforms. This is not a Blender tutorial video, but it is a fairly simple tool once you get used to all the prompts and things like that. I'm going to specifically show you how to use it with AI to develop 3D models in a very simplistic way. Okay, lots of tools, lots of functionality, lots of things you can do with models in here. But specifically, I'm going to show you the AI way to do it. So I'm going to jump over into ChatGPT. Now, we all know that we can prompt ChatGPT in a multitude of different ways, right? So one of the ways you can actually use it is to develop prompts or scripts for 3D models, okay? So I'm gonna, and I'll give you examples. Some of you in the chat might use Blender, some of you might use SolidWorks, some of you might use Autodesk to do your 3D design, whether it's in your classroom with your students or personally. All right, so there's a couple different ways to do this. Now, the thing with ChatGPT always is like being able to learn how to prompt it properly, okay? So if we're trying to get 3D models, we need to prompt it properly to get it, okay? So if I just said, sorry, let me erase that. If I just said, you know, make me a planner's pot in Blender, okay? It's going to give me a step-by-step guide on how to create my own planner pot in Blender, okay? Now, this can be useful for you if you want to do it yourself and kind of go through those steps and learn more of like a tutorial style. But if you are actually wanting to use AI to actually develop and create those models, you're going to want to do something a little bit differently, okay? I'm going to start a new prompt. So specifically in Blender, there's something called scripts. Okay, so you're going to click, or you're going to type, write a Blender script that creates, and you can say what a cool modern planner pot. Okay. Now, if I click go on that, it's going to actually develop me a Blender Python script, okay, to create a modern stylish planner pot. Okay, now it might take a minute or so to actually develop this entire script. But this is what is going to become useful when we go back into Blender and actually create that 3D model with this script, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. I've already developed one, so I'm going to do that little trick on you guys. So this is the actual script that I made. So what I'm going to do is click copy code in here. And then I'm going to go back to Blender over here, okay? So this is basically what Blender looks like when you first open it. It's going to put you in what's called layout mode, and it's going to have a model in here. If you want to delete that model, you can delete it pretty simply. I think you just click X, delete it. And then you'll see over here in the top bar here, there is a tab called scripting, okay? So what you do is you click on that scripting tab, and guys, eventually Blender is going to have, and it might already be in the works or it might be in beta, they're going to have an AI tool just built into this. But for the sake of this actual STEM Wednesday, we're doing it a little bit using two different tools. But basically you go into the scripting tab, you can X out of this or delete whatever's in there. You click new, and then you're going to copy that code that you just made, okay? I actually don't know if I let it fully finish. I think I did. And then you're going to click this little play button. Okay. Now, when I go back into layout mode, you'll see this is what it actually looks like. Here's my little planner's pot. Right. So pretty cool. Now, if you want to like scale it up and do things like that, you can scale it up and mess with it a little bit. However you want to use the actual tool itself, you can, the actual software itself, you can do that. But for the sake of this, I just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like. Now, you might not want a open part at the bottom. You might want it to be closed off for your planner pod. So what you can do is you can go back into ChatGPT here, and I wrote a little script to say, hey, can you modify it to have a closed base? Okay. Then it created the modification with the closed base, and then I was able to copy the code, go back into here, go to scripting, delete the script. Actually, you have to delete the model as well. Go back into script, click new again, and then copy and paste that, okay? Then it's going to give me a planner pot with a closed base, okay? Now, a couple things I just wanted to mention to you guys. This is like giving you really a template, right? So if you want to get a template and then design on top of it, you can do it that way. If you're actually looking to fully develop a finalized model in Blender, you might have a more complicated prompt than I just did. Now, it is not perfect. I have tried numerous prompts for Blender, and sometimes the scripting creates an error. Sometimes the prompt doesn't work very well. So, you do have to play around a little bit with it. But it's a lot of fun kind of discovering what works and what doesn't work and kind of adjusting your prompt in ChatGPT to give you an optimal result with this. Now that I actually have a model in here, I can go in here and do whatever I want with it, right? If I want to move it around, if I want to scale certain parts of it, or things like that, I can mess around with it, right? So you can then adjust and kind of work with the frameworks of your actual model after you've used ChatGPT to develop kind of your template. You can also go in here and export this model as an STL file. And you can bring this into Tinkercad, for example, if you're more comfortable with Tinkercad and you want to mess around with the model there, okay? So once again, this is just a really quick way to use a tool like Blender, 3D modeling tool like Blender to actually develop 3D models with ChatGPT. Now, if you're like, hey, I use SolidWorks. SolidWorks has instead of using the word script, they have something called a macro. So most of you that use these things probably have already knew this. So if I said develop or doesn't want to work, huh? Write a SolidWorks macro for a planer spot. Okay. It's going to then create that version of what I just did in Blender for SolidWorks. Okay. So you'll see it'll start creating a macro code for SolidWorks. You can copy the code and then bring it into SolidWorks and input it in there as well. So you can do it once again, lots of cool stuff. You can get pretty complex in it. If you're using Autodesk, for example, those are called scripts as well. So you can prompt ChatGPT to do a specific type of script for Autodesk as well. So script is for Autodesk and Blender. Macro is for SolidWorks, okay? I don't believe, unless I'm wrong, that Tinkercad, if you use Tinkercad in your classroom, I don't think they have a tool to develop 3D models from a script. However, I wouldn't be surprised if you could use it to develop something for like their Tinkercad code blocks, right? So mess around with ChatGPT, put in some different types of prompts for it, and then you can copy and paste that and bring it into any of the 3D modeling softwares you use. Okay. Is there any questions that have come in that I've missed? Hannah, is there anything that's coming in? Some support. All right. Love that. Tim Burns, how you doing? Helen, how you doing? Looks like we don't have any questions. Yeah. So guys, go in there and mess around with this. Yep. Go ahead.
What tips do you have for when you get errors?
So it's really just a prompting thing, right? So you kind of have to go back in there and really the prompts are not that great in ChatGPT right now. Now I'm using a free version. It could be better in the 4.0 version or whatever, maybe. But the free version, sometimes like I did a couple that were like develop a ship, develop a rocket, and they just didn't come out that great in terms of an actual model itself. So, I think just going back and retrying to work with the script to make it a little bit more simple, or say, hey, make a more simple design of this, or maybe make something that's more cartoon style, something that makes it a little bit easier and less complex will probably work better in these specific tools. Okay. So once again, these are using the actual 3D modeling software tools. I'm going to jump over and now show you an actual tool, an online tool that's a little bit more robust that can allow you to do really cool 3D models. This is actually using AI. So this is a one-stop shop kind of tool. And I've used a lot of different ones. I've tried different tools that are online. So I'm going to bring this up for you and show you this. Now, the name of it is called Meshy. Okay. Once again, I've tried a multitude of these different tools that say they do 3D modeling using AI. This one is so freaking great and simple that everyone that's listening should be going and using it. Now, if you set up an account with Meshy, you get these little credits. So you get 200 credits, which will allow you to do, I think, about 8 models. So 8 prompts, 8 models for free. If you want to upgrade, it's like $20 a month to actually get unlimited access to this. Okay. Now, what I love about Meshy as a tool is you have a couple different ways to get 3D models. Now, I'm going to show you just right in this session the text to 3D, but you can also do 2D images to 3D. Now, there's a couple of stipulations behind it, but if you jump into it, guys, and you want to use this tool, If you click this resources tab, they have tons of great tutorials on it. So check those out. It teaches you how to like perfect the models, how to do different, like what to look for when you're putting in a 2D image, things like that. Okay. So we're going to jump into text to 3D. I'm already in my account. So what's cool with this is you can build a prompt just like you would in ChatGPT in Meshy, and it will develop the models directly in here. So for the sake of this one, it does take about a minute or so to actually construct the actual 3D models, but it's pretty cool because every prompt you do, it will give you 4 different options. Okay. So you can look at each of these options and you could be like, okay, which one do I like the best? And then you can click this texture button and then it will create a more realistic version of that model. Okay. You can get very, very detailed with these prompts. Okay. Now I did a very simple one. This was kind of one of my first ones working with it a while back. But you can go in here and you can type very, very specific details. Now, if you're like, hey, I don't know where to start with my prompts, you can go in here and click on this community tab and go down to any of these models that you think looks really cool. Maybe you're like, oh, this one's awesome. You can click this little remix button and then you can actually see what their prompt was. Okay, then you can give you ideas on how you can prompt your model that you want to create in Meshy. Okay, so this specific says humanoid monster has 12 feet tall, virtual mountain, blah, 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 right? So you can see how detailed they're oriented. You can go back into the community. And if you like another one, that's pretty cool. Click remix, and oh, this one's done in a different language, so it's not the best one. But you can look at kind of some of the different prompts that were in there. So you can get really detailed on these prompts. And the cool thing too is they have 3 different art styles. So they have realistic, they have like a sculpture type version, which gives you really cool texture. And then they have PBR, okay? So this is like a physically based model or something like that. I haven't really messed with the PBR style of it, but I think it's more for like generating rooms and realistic environments and things like that. So I've used the realistic and the sculpture one quite a bit. But yeah, jump into this, use this. Now you can see, I think it's generating my rocket ship or my boat that I did in here. So it's still about 80%. Now I did one recently that looks like this. So this little rocket ship that I made, right? So you can see how cool it looks. Now you can change the colors. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. I can share this with people. I can just download this model as an STL now. So now I have my rocket ship. So you can do, I mean, the possibilities are really endless with this tool. And it's a very simple way to use this AI to generate a 3D model. Now, once again, if I'm creating, you can see it just finished my little ship here. Now look at how cool this ship design is, right? So, you know, whether you're an animator or something like that, this could be used for that functionality. Or if you're wanting to use it for 3D modeling, you can download this model. And then I can go into a tool like Tinkercad and I can import this model. Okay, so if I want to import my rocket ship, I can import this rocket ship. I think I didn't specify the size on the actual design, so it might come up a little bit small. But I can import this rocket ship into Tinkercad and I can mess with it and do different things, add things onto it. Yeah, so it comes out a little small if you don't specify the actual scale of it, which I did not do on this one. But then you can kind of bring it out and build it, okay? So you can scale it and do whatever you want with the actual model once you've actually brought it into Tinkercad, okay? So once again, you have like a very manual mode to do 3D design. So combining ChatGPT with a 3D modeling software like Blender, Autodesk, or SolidWorks. Once again, if you're using Blender or Autodesk and you are typing something into ChatGPT, use script. Develop a Blender script, develop an Autodesk script for this specific model. Okay. If you're using SolidWorks, it's macro. Develop a SolidWorks macro for this specific model. If you just want to skip that altogether and just go in and use a tool like Meshy, once again, you get 200 credits, which is 8 models for free. Just sign up for an account and go straight into this text to 3D and start typing whatever the prompt is. Okay. Once again, it will give you can do realistic or sculpture. It will give you 4 different models. And then once you've picked a model, you can texture it and develop a little bit more realistic render. It'll save your assets in here. So if you want to save specific assets you've created, it'll do that, which is really cool. So yeah, really the possibilities are endless with this stuff. And then once again, you can take what you developed in here and bring it over into a different software that you use and add on to it however you'd like. Okay. When you're doing one of the prompts too, you can also, I don't know if I have it on this one, but there's also a way to like do like negative prompts. So you can say like, I don't want it to be this color or have this or have this. So you can do what you want it to look like also in negative prompts. Okay. So lots of cool stuff in here. Hopefully these were good tools. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box. I'll hang around here. But we are officially 2 minutes past our 20-minute time frame here. So hopefully you guys got a little gist. I'll jump back in really quick. Talk to you about Meshi. If you guys are interested in 3D printers, I don't know if anyone on here is in the market for 3D printers or looking for 3D printers, but we did just launch 2 different models of 3D printers. One is our E4, it's our high-speed education 3D printer, and then we have our E4 Pro, which is our large volume education 3D printer. So reach out to me if you have any questions on that. They both come with a really good program. You know, you get the hardware, they're super safe, easy to use. They come with training resources, both for teachers and for students. And they also come with access to our mystemkits.com with over 450 lessons across K-12, all standards driven, NGSS and state. So feel free to reach out to us. If you want to sign up for next week's STEM Wednesday, I believe it's with Hannah on the lab disk, go ahead and scan that QR code that's there. That'll take you directly to a link to, it's with Jonathan. Okay, thank you. Jonathan, go ahead and scan that QR code. It will take you directly to it. And if you have any questions about the products we have, about the 3D printers or anything like that, go ahead and send me a message. If you want to share, if you go and use any of these tools and you're like, hey, I want to share something that I've designed, please share it with me. Send me an email. I want to see some of the cool stuff that you're creating. One of the other things you can do, I didn't really talk too much about this, but once you've developed your model, you can actually share it in the community so other people can download it as well, which is really cool, or make remixes of it or whatever it may be. So this is a really, really cool tool. And there's tons of designers and people making incredible stuff just by prompting AI. So, you know, you can go from complete scratch in design, right? Starting with literally nothing, maybe starting with shapes and things like that and building your own stuff from scratch. Or you can use one of these tools and give yourself kind of a template, or you can use them to actually create your final object that you want to print. Okay, so either which way is totally fine. But you know, it's cool to see this tool that we've been talking about so much, that's been trending so much, being useful for something like 3D printing and 3D modeling. Okay, so thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys joining. Once again, reach out if you have any questions, and we look forward to having you at more STEM Wednesdays. We enjoy doing these. We like teaching you guys about this stuff. So we want to share as many tools, tricks, tips to help you guys in the classroom. So look forward to next week's.